All right, welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today is Adain Summerfield from Otago Open Poly. How are you?
For Otago Polytechnic, I'm very good.
Yeah.
Living the dream down in sunny Dunedin. Another good day in paradise.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's certainly winter's starting to make itself known around the the South Island, from what I hear.
Yeah, just a subtle shift from 3 to 4 layers, but we'll survive. We're hard down here. Hard down here.
You guys are so tough. You're so used to it. It's nothing to really talk about, is it?
Yeah, as I said, just chuck another jacket on and get on with life.
Yeah. That's right. There's no bad weather, is there, either? It's just the wrong clothing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Good advice here.
So tell us more about your role, Adain, in the Polytechnic down there, because typically I'm talking to people who are sort of working in the industry and have been through an education process, and that is so varied depending on where you do it. It'd be really interesting to sort of hear your perspective. You're a seasoned lecturer. You've been doing the role for over 20 years. So, I think it would be really interesting to hear your side of the story in terms of, PTs coming into the industry. Because one of the motivations for this, when me and Matt Norris started chatting about this, was that, the dropout rate's relatively high, and we wanted to try and help people stay in the industry for longer. And one of the reasons for the podcast was that, so that if we can put some tips and tricks out there for people that may be struggling, there may be something that just makes a difference to them, when they're finding things a bit tough. So
well, look, I think the podcast is wonderful, and I am seasoned. This is my 21st year of teaching at Otago Polytech. And teaching was not something I wanted to do. Like yourself, I wanted to actually impact on athletes. I wanted to be a professional rugby coach. That was my aspirations. But through studying physical education at Otago University and working at Unipol, the students' recreation centre down here, I developed a real joy for training people. Exercise is a wonderful thing, and started my journey doing that. And then the opportunity came to shift into education, which I happily stepped into as I kind of thought, when I was training people, if I had the privilege of looking after 100 people a year, that's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. But if I got to teach, 100 students a year, or 50 students a year, or 20, and then they went and did the same thing, that reach would be big. Yes. But look, it is a wonderful thing, and I really like the kaupapa of your podcast. The idea of how do we help people enter and participate and stay in this wonderful industry, this powerful industry that, in some regards we shouldn't need. Exercise is free. We should be able to do it everywhere. But you'd also argue we need more than ever for many reasons. So, I have been in it for a long time, 21st year. Not always in the trainer space, if that makes sense. So started in sporting performance, so training the machine and learning the areas of that, and then the opportunity to shift into leading our personal training program, which I did for maybe sort of 15 odd years before being asked to look after the exercise strand of our degree now. But my real passion is how do we help the people that have a love of exercise and want to share that with other people? How do we do that in a way that prepares them to start in the industry and then to stay there for a while, which as you say is a big challenge. Is a big challenge.
Yeah, it sure is. And I think there's such a diversity of courses, in terms of, you can do the full degree, you can do, or at the other end of the scale, you can do, a 6-8 week course potentially. And obviously those two things are considerably different, but being able to actually call yourself a PT, the bar is relatively low, and perhaps that's why the dropout rate is the way it is. I don't know. Should there be a much higher minimum standard?
Well, so I looked at that. One of the things that I took very seriously, and I guess bits of wisdom that I've collected across my years, is whether we're a parent or a coach or a teacher, the sort of Stoic quote or philosophy, our job is not to prepare the path for the learner, but the learner for the path. And I think, again, that's more important than ever. Yes, we've got some standard roles with gym instructors and personal trainers and group fit instructors, and they're kind of defined, but we're seeing these shifts into online training and hybrid training, and stepping into sectors of the community in schools or in retirement. There's such a range of roles that we don't necessarily know what they are, but there is that need to prepare people for it. When I got the role of taking over the personal training program at Otago Polytech, I was standing on the shoulders of some great people that had gone before and had created incredible relationships around New Zealand. So I was able to step into those and try and understand all the options and all the pathways. And I think at that stage, just in New Zealand, there were 80 odd different pathways to become a personal trainer.
Wow. And
it's, as you say, they range from a weekend course that you got a lovely manual through to the 4-year degrees. And what occurred to me was that there isn't a single way to get there. And I've met some wonderful people, some you've interviewed, and I won't name names, but some people that have come in with such a great background of customer service first, probably, and then a passion for exercise, and have been able to put it together quite well. And then there are other people that have done extensive degrees and postgraduate quals that wouldn't have the standard attributes to be an effective trainer. And I liken it to having a driver's license. There are some people I know that don't have a driver's license, but are very good and safe and effective drivers. And there are some people that do have a driver's license that I've never jumped in the car with. So I think it's, and it's something, again, I'll say, and I do take education very seriously, whether it's done through a formal course or, listening to great podcasts or reading great books or just gathering wisdom through experience. But education is a ticket to the dance. It doesn't mean I'm a great dancer and I've still got to do my time. When you talked about the qualifications, it is an area that's, I'm having to live with and work with. We've had a big review of qualifications over the last few years, and we're going to see another shift again with that soon. In some regards, it's good that it's standardized things, but we're seeing many courses abbreviated, and I think, when you condense time, you've got to compromise on breadth of learning or depth of learning. And I think the biggest risk of those things, in my personal opinion, is that we dent the opportunity for confidence in our learners and graduates. And again, whether they do this in work or through some apprenticeship scheme, whether they self-learn, at the end of the day, we need to learn or develop or acquire skills and then have enough practice to know that they work. So we're then confident to share those with other people. And I think we have an industry that's very, very special, and that, I would suggest, and I'd say, probably 95, 98% of the people in the industry as trainers are doing this on a I was going to say money for time, but they have to sell their services, so they have to sell to get paid. They don't have the, my previous jobs where I suit and ties and getting paid a salary or a wage. And what I'm doing now, I can make some mistakes and the paycheck still comes in and the kids still get fed. PT is a really hard thing if you don't believe in your product or believe in yourself. When you're trying to convince or help people that don't believe in themselves or exercise, that exercise is good, it's really, really hard. And I think, however we get there, that's one of the biggest challenges we have in preparing people to do that.
I think so. That's probably tip number one you've dropped right there, is that belief thing. And that's not necessarily something that can be taught, is it? Because you either have it or you don't, and you see the confident practitioners and you see the less confident practitioners. But I think it's a key that they all need to have, but everyone can find their audience, can't they, in terms of that client avatar, the people that they want to work with. But you're right, that belief has to be the starting point.
It's a wonderful thing. It's a really wonderful thing in fitness, and I have to tell my learners all the time, and I have great delight in keeping in contact with our graduates, well after their graduation and through their lives, through their career changes. But, we're in an industry, I guess, like it's like the hospitality industry. Break it down to ice cream. I was trying to help my students with, their business plans and identify target markers and create avatars. But it's like a wonderful ice cream shop. There are so many flavors, and you can find a space for you. I mean, you need to know that there's a demand for vanilla, or whatever it is, pistachio, and the other plate. But there's not one way of doing it. So that art of being able to know what you offer and find people that value what you do. And I guess that was a point of your recent PT council support you gave to some of the South region about marketing. It is about knowing what you do and finding a way to communicate that to people that want what you do. Yeah. But coming back to that belief thing, how do we help people get belief? Look, I'm fascinated more and more with how we develop confidence and how we help our clients develop confidence, and that idea of we have thoughts and feelings about ourselves and our value and our worth, and often we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. But whether we're a trainer training clients or a teacher training students, we can teach people skills. We should be able to teach people skills, and we can provide an opportunity or guidance or enough practice and repetition so people can make a decision about their ability to do stuff. And I think from there, we give people an opportunity to start to challenge those beliefs and the way the mind works. And I think that's where we get really powerful, but we do have to make sure we are showing a skill and teaching it from many ways in a language, in a way that our audience understands. Again, whether you're a trainer training clients or a teacher training students, if we leave that, if we ignore that, then I think then we are struggling to create that confidence that is a started belief that I know that I can help people.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of getting into the role that you're in, how was that something that was by design, or did you were you asked to do it, and you obviously it's something you love?
So very accidental. So I'm from Christchurch originally, and I always enjoyed sport. Wasn't particularly good at it in my younger years, but then was lucky to have some great coaches that allowed me to have some success in rugby as a teen. So I enjoyed sport, and everyone else seemed to get bigger. I have many years on the clock, many candles on the cake. So I don't know if gyms were invented when I was, that inspiring athlete. But so I went down a different path, studying economics originally up at Canterbury. But I decided after a few years of suit and tie type job that actually I really enjoyed exercise and sport, and decided to study to become a professional rugby coach. That was the plan, and I decided not to study at the College of Education in Christchurch because the physical education pathway there was to be a teacher, and I didn't want to be a teacher. So but I guess sport coaching and then training people, and I made a heap of mistakes. Like I could fill up several podcast episodes for you of mistakes I've made and how to avoid them. But that's I was always quite happy to reflect and to learn from those and find the lesson. So I came and studied PE down here, and jumped on a plane a week after my last exam over to Ireland for another rugby season there, third one away. Ended up in London, PTing over there for a big company, Holmes Place, back in the day. And and that was quite wonderful to bridge from the theory of training and I'd say mechanistic view, from applying physiology and exercise prescription principles to actually dealing with people and understanding their lives. And so I did that for a while, and then had the opportunity, decided to come back to New Zealand and got offered a role at Otago Polytech, which I thought might be a 1 or 2 year gig, a temporary gig to train athletes. And yeah, Dunedin and Otago Polytech has become home. But I guess in the iterations there, along the way of training those athletes and thinking, how we did that, and just trying to, I don't know, fine tune the athlete and not worry about what they could do away from their sports field, that not feeling right, I guess, bridged into how do we solve that same problem for the general population that have a life. Yeah. So yeah, teaching came about, and I've learned a lot on teaching and through trial and error and the opportunities that come within it. And as you say, I've got 21st year of doing that now, and still enjoy it, still challenged by things, and still have to mark stuff, which is not the fun part. But I get to see our students training clients, and even when they're cutting their teeth, you can see that desire to help people. And then when I go and visit the gyms around Dunedin, when I listen to your podcast and the number of our graduates that you've spoken to, and knowing who they are and what they do, and that even on the worst day, I just need to think about that or experience a session by one of my grads, and it's also worthwhile.
Fantastic. Yeah, very motivating. So it sounds like you've got some strong connections with the industry, and obviously the fact that you were listening to the PT Council and one of the presentations that was going on there means that you have got those strong links with the industry. And is that an important thing for you, or is it an important thing for the students, or both?
Well, it's a very important thing for me. Look, I would say I'm a curious person, that I want to learn stuff. Others would say I'm just curious, but man, there's so many incredible people globally, and the fitness industry is actually pretty good at helping others out in the industry. So, when I was looking through your library of podcasts, gosh, the people that are in there, Shane is just an incredible guy. Some of the people from City Fitness Days, and Tash Columbus recently. These are all these wonderful people are so collaborative and actually want to help grow the industry. And so, it's a beautiful thing that nobody individually needs to solve it. You need to have confidence in what you do, but all these wonderful people, and I think for our trainers that are starting their business, or pivoting, or if we can have simple systems and borrow the collective wisdom of others, we can do very, very well. So, look, plus being a vocational program with the Polytechnic, we in taking a communities of practice approach, our job is to help to get our students to a place where they can enter and participate confidently at an appropriate level in the industry.
Right.
When we had a couple of years to get there, we could, in the first year, we would call it our gym instructor year, that kind of ability to offer general fitness and move around a gym and help people and greet people. And in the second year with PT, we could build on that, and they could find their special interest, not their specialization. That's pretty, to be a specialist. Yeah, but they could find their special interest and have some experience in that space. And we could do that with industry. So we had our students out through industry, all through Dunedin, and finding the place they loved and the kind of clients they loved, all with the view of starting a long career, rather than just bouncing around. But again, that has changed a little bit with the change in qualification structure and what we did over 2 years. Now we've got students, as you know, that can do I was going to say a 6-month course, a single semester, 13 weeks, and can say they're a personal trainer. And I think while some come in with so much other knowledge and other life experience that they can do it, I feel passionately about how we help create success and support success rather than set people up for failure.
Yeah. I think that's something that's come up in a number of conversations previously, and the thing it relates to is that time getting into the role of being a fully fledged PT. The time on the floor as a gym instructor seems to have either been shrunk or disappeared in a lot of environments. I think maybe AUT is still very much doing that, but some of the big boxes aren't aren't doing it anymore. You know, you're either taken on as a PT and you build yourself up over the course of, say, a month or 2 months, and that's it, sort of saying sink or swim.
Yeah.
It seems like those months or even potentially, you know, years where people do that time on the floor and they're at gym instructing, it can be make and break. It can make them the most superior PT because they've fine-tuned all of the necessary skills to be good at it.
Yeah.
And as you say, some people can just come into it and sort of skip that. But I can't imagine that there's that many people that are going to be that good, particularly younger people potentially. I mean, I'm making a big assumption there. About being, you know, successful. That sort of seems like a really key ingredient that may be missing in places.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we are in a, you know, personal training, or actually any fitness instruction role is about helping people. It is interpersonal, and you know, a non-negotiable of that is that whatever passion and fitness or, you know, preferences you've got, it never was about the trainer. It's always about the person. So, you know, and again, gosh, if I had $1 for every time we said COVID caused a problem, but you know, we've got. I was speaking with some colleagues the other day, and we're sort of pointing out that over, you know, the students we've got now have spent maybe 50% of their last 3 years learning from home, learning away from other people. And, you know, we're now, you know, with fitness and being a trainer, we are, as you said, we've taken away those gym instructor roles. They are very rare. So, and, you know, that's a great way to just to walk around and say hello to people and connect and have these micro help opportunities. And that they used to be a wonderful opportunity in many gyms to start to build up your PT business if you took them. Now we're just chucking people straight into the deep end of saying, right, you know, join our company. If you're lucky, there might be some induction 3-day thing or whatever, or a weekend. If you're lucky. Otherwise, you jump on the floor and someone will give you some names, numbers, and say go. And you know, look, I look at fitness, and you know, I do appreciate the opportunity of talking with you from the educational side, because it is, you know, perspective matters. You know, you'll have. I mean, I guess the point of this podcast is how do we help people that have done some kind of preparatory course or knowledge acquisition or verified that, and how do we help them stay in the industry and be successful? You know, from an educational side, you know, our job is to try and give a reality check to say, well, look, it is hard, it is tough, and it does take some patience, and you do need to remember why you started, and then try and develop systems that will give you the best chance of success. But you know, when we look at some organisations will, you know, charge a few $1,000s as for an induction program, and then charge you $150 to $200 a week rent. You know, and like I'll say to my students, like, so if you're charged $200 a week rent, how many clients would you need to train to pay for that? And they'll go, well, $50 an hour Dunedin rates, that's 4. You go, well, no, it's actually going to be 6 or 7. You've got to pay tax on that. And then, you know, so there's, you know, it can be it's kind of an industry where in some places, and there are so many great trainers and so many great companies that will find a way to build you up, to give you that time. But, you know, there are many trainers that start behind. They start behind. And, you know, again, while courses are very good, I believe, while most courses are very good at giving that practical training experience, and graduates are, I'd say, collectively pretty good at writing a session plan that'll get some success and choosing the sets and reps and exercises a client does or doesn't like. The business side is, I spoke to some colleagues today. I mean, with business, we can teach tax and business plans and ACC and all sorts of stuff, but until you actually have to deal with money, it means little. And so again, that's the challenge. If you're selling, you know, anything that's going to have a business, like until you actually have to deal with money, it's a very, you know, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing.
If you haven't ever had to balance the books yourself, then doing it in a business is going to be a challenge. Is there an element, it sounds like you do already teach that stuff, is there a decent component of that in the course?
Well, so with the very truncated, the short course, I mean, we've got as I said, what we did over a couple of years is now down to 6 months if you do the level 4 certificate. And one paper within that is a professional practice paper, and one element of that, one task out of 3 inside that is around business. So we do what we can to support that, and then if you stay and do the Cert 5 program, which we recommend, we go a bit deeper into I guess the whole sales process, and so you got to earn the money before you can manage the books, and you don't have to pay a lot of tax on zero income. So we try and revisit it, but it is a real challenge, and it's one that we've got some other lecturers and tutors that have got really great experience and expertise in that space in organisations, sports organisations. We've got other departments around the Polytech that business management is. So we're continuously trying to find ways to say, look, this is how you can do it. But also even just going back to using some of the wonderful resources that came out from Reps and Exercise New Zealand that talk about this is how you can do it. And even IRD, which I know that's a swear word for many people, but they offer great resources on how to run a business and great help. In fact, we even do connect and host IRD. They come in and speak to our students about how to set up. Really? Yep. So, and cool. It might be a topic for you in the future, but IRD, they've got people in every region that exist to help business set up well and manage their accounts and to manage their GST. So they will happily come in. They've got great resource online, but I guess their vested interest is how do they help people earn as much money as possible so they can get as much tax as possible. But again, how do we get people to step into using those systems? And the greatest trainers I see, and you've hosted several of them, will tell you that they do nothing particularly cutting edge. They haven't invented anything. They just do the simple thing consistently. And whether it's someone trying to eat better or move better, simple things done consistently trump any app or any catastrophic occasional thing.
Every time. I like that idea, that IRD thing. You're right. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're paying good tax, it means we're successful, right? So it's a sign of the good things are working. But I think a good starting point is probably a really good accountant. And again, that's seen as an expense, but at the end of the day, you get a good one, they're going to actually save you tax. They're going to streamline your business. They're going to do all the paperwork that's necessary if you're running a limited liability or a sole trader, aren't they? They're worth their weight in gold if you get the right one.
Yeah, and again, on that there, so while we've hosted IRD, we do try and connect our students with as many of allied health professionals that they might engage with, but we've had accountants come in and talk with them. We've had PTs talk about how they manage their accounts and share examples of how their weeks are and what they're doing. We even had Henry, which is an online accounting company. They've come and presented to our students to say, this is what we do. So always trying to share these tools and connect our students. Again, that's assuming they're earning some money, so there's steps to do before then. But once you get to that stage of a bit of belief in what you're doing and your ability to help people, then it's an exciting thing. The only challenge of that is that I believe for most people that's probably an 18-month to 2-year journey. So it does need some patience and it does need some good support, but there are people that get through that first financial year and they get their first tax bill and it's too hard and it's too much, and then they'll go back to I don't know, they'll go from having a great job to doing work.
It's a shame because if it's something like a tax bill that puts them off, surely we could then go, right, you can see the things that could potentially scare people away. We need to make sure they're fully educated on those things so that they know they're coming. There's no surprises. And is that a fair comment that we're maybe not enough educators are really giving the warts and all?
Look, I don't know. We do get to speak with a bunch of other, there's good relationships between so under Te Pukenga, the new conglomerate polytechnic thing. So we work a lot with other polytechnics and share ideas and find out what they do. And You know, I don't know, like I would, in knowing other lecturers around the country, I would doubt that there are any that aren't sharing those resources around this is what the industry is like, and aren't encouraging their students to get out and speak with PTs and I guess really have a reality check. I would doubt that.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, I would hope not. You know, like you know, whether it's right down to, like, I mean, our first question when we get people join our personal training programs is, have you had a personal trainer before? Have you been to a commercial gym before? And it's surprisingly, and even do you want to be a personal trainer or a similar role, it's quite surprising the number of applicants that come into our program that have not had a personal trainer before,
right.
or who or haven't been to a commercial gym.
Right.
And I find that quite fascinating. And you know, just how do we provide a reality check that, you know, this is tough. You are running your own business. You do need to sell what you do. You know, and to try and prepare, you know, have a conversation. What is it like? You know, to understand that it's not a 9-to-5 job. In fact, it's a 5 to 9. The people that can afford you, they often work between 9 and 5. So you need to, you know, and that was a topic of conversation today with students about planning their perfect week.
Right.
When is the gym open? When do you want to train people? When do the people you want to train? You know, and how might that differ for different target markets? Who's in the gym from 6 to 9 in the morning? Who's there between 9 and 12? You know, so these are those. You know, we try and have that reality check. But I think sometimes people think, well, trainers, you know, $50 to $100 an hour. If I do 40 hours a week, that's $4,000, or, you know, whatever the rate is, and forget that's not that. You know, the reality is not how it works. There's so much preparation and other things you need to do, and then you've got to build that up. So So I think the whole I hand on heart, I'd say that the industry is good at, well, the ones that I know, and I think getting rid of some of those weekend courses. There were some, I don't know, there were some suspect ones. But I think the reality check is that this is hard, but it's also incredibly rewarding if you can serve the people that you want to be the hero for.
I think maybe it's the toughness, the fact that you know, there's some early mornings and some late nights, and to build the business to a point where it's got some momentum, there is a serious amount of graft required. Nothing worth having is easy. So maybe it's the hard work thing. If they've got all the tools in front of them, they've got the education behind them. It could be an individual thing.
Look, I think if someone's got the passion and they've got some skills worth sharing, and it has to be more than just how much can you bench press, because it doesn't matter, you know. So if someone's got a range of skills, they understand about behavior change and really about meeting people where they're at, and finding the funnest way forward towards where they want to go, then I think this is wonderful, and, you know, so much better than cleaning cars or you know, picking potatoes. A couple of jobs I had as a kid, you know, gosh, when you get to impact on people, when you see, again, if you can help someone just once shift something from the I can't list to the I can list, that's a good day. That's a good day.
It's massively rewarding, and, you know, we generally don't get into it for the money, and I think there's that may be a bit of a misleading dream. You know, you talked about those dollars earlier, and really, you know, you've got to have that balance for yourself to maintain the energy and the enthusiasm, and there's no way that you'd be able to sustain a 40-hour face-to-face, week-to-week, month-to-month. It's just not possible. And I guess you probably just find that out along the way if you do stick at it and make it, as you said, a career as opposed to a job. Well, yes, you can find out about it along the way, and I think if you're a little bit reflective, you will learn a whole lot, because there are lessons in everything, and it's also really transferable what we do. But I do think the industry could and should do better at you know, at helping our graduates and our new entrants, our new staff, avoid those taniwha that we know are there. You know, there are so many things coming that we know are going to be there. We don't, I mean, people have got to find their path, but there are so many barriers and hurdles that we can say it's coming, look out for this, you know. And so I think collectively we could take better care
of our fitness staff, our fitness professionals, to allow them to become professional and stay professional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm without wanting to blow my own trumpet, the one thing I didn't do, which I should have done at the beginning, was to find a mentor, someone who I could lean on, because I decided not to go into an organization or big box. I decided to do my own thing, and I didn't reach out to someone who had been through it before and say, hey, as I go, can you give me some tips and some tricks, because I don't know everything I need to know until I start doing it. And I think that's probably something that people can gain from their lecturers, from their colleagues, who, if they're working alongside people who are more experienced. It's worth having those guides, that wisdom around you as you go, because there'll be things that they can drop into a conversation which you'd never have thought of, and make all the difference to you.
And why wouldn't you? I guess, why wouldn't you take advantage of others that have walked the path before? Yes, you're going to find your own thing, and it's going to be a little bit different, but there's just so many shared lessons. I mean, that's when my students they're contemplating where to go. Gosh, they all have ambition. Many have ambitions of owning their own global fitness empire, or their own facility.
Good for them.
But and it's wonderful, and I would, and several have, which is wonderful, which is so good to, and globally, doing incredible things and owning their own facilities, and have done so many other great things. But that idea of saying, well, where's your community? Where's and if sometimes it's in a big facility that has a dedicated manager or PT manager that will help support you and guide the way. It can be in a place where there's other trainers to provide a community, but increasingly, like with the PT Council, or there's even just through podcasts, there is so much wisdom to guide the way, and look, we'll do that in any other industry. We would look for the systems and the lessons, and then we'd innovate on top of those. So stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before, rather than having to stumble and fall your own way to the start line. Yeah.
Well, you've dropped a number of great tips in there. I've been listening specifically for those, but are there any other things that you think are useful to drop in there before we wind up?
I guess from an education point of view, we should do some homework before we learn. I think education is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and whether we're going to sort of take the Goodwill Hunting approach and get it all an 8 cents of late fees at the library, or YouTube is your friend and Google is So if you're going into education, it is a lot of time, and it is an expense. And I don't want to scare students away, but we should pause and think, why am I doing this? And I know I've been critical of the truncated certificate and exercise pathway. It does lack breadth and depth to it, but it is short enough. And I think there's, I'd like to see more kind of 1 or 2 week or 3 week taster courses that have some investment, but they do, is this the right thing for you? That's not only an exercise, but, because education, we've got, so many people have got this idea that just because I've finished high school, I have to go into education, and it has to be a degree, and, or, it's education is a privilege, and it's wonderful, and we should all have access to it, but when we're ready, rather than just because I've finished high school. But I think that's also on the educational facilities to help check if now's the right time for the learner. So do a bit of homework and try, and I'd say if you want to prepare to join the fitness industry, you should also do a little bit of homework on the industry. Go to a gym, have a chat to your trainer, ask them what they love about it, ask them what's challenging about it, ask them if they started their journey again, what they would have done differently. I think a great question for any mentor. And I guess the same as we would with any client when we get the privilege of helping them. It is a journey. It does take patience. It does require us to start where the person is at. Us really take stock. Where are you at? Where do you want to be? And how might you take a step forward today to get there? And I guess have a bit of patience with it too. Like anything, we don't need to make it hard, but when we overcome adversity or we navigate challenges, I think that's where we find the meaning and we find our right place. We find our right place through that adversity.
Yeah, I like that. I've been scribbling madly trying to capture some of those things for my notes.
Yeah, and I've been trying to talk fast to test your penmanship as well. So
yeah, well, it's a complete mess.
Yeah,
I'm going to be deciphering that for ages now.
Yeah.
It's been a privilege chatting, Aidan. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I really appreciate the time that you've given me this afternoon. So I would love to, at some point, maybe organise a second. I say that to most people because I think it's. I'm not just saying it. There's definitely space for a chapter 2.
Yeah, well, I look forward to a chapter 2 if you do decide to get me back. And yeah, look, again, as I said, I love your kaupapa, that idea of how do we help people that start the industry stay in the industry. I'd say I'm really proud of myself and the Otago Polytechnic team, and all throughout the fitness industry, that are trying to make it easier for people, the right people to start. So I think collectively, if we take good care of our aspiring fitness professionals, if we help them start well and help them navigate those first judder bars, I think, bottom line, exercise is medicine. It's wonderful for physical and mental health and social health. So what a wonderful thing to be part of together.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, I'll leave you to your afternoon. Thanks, Aidan.
Thank you.
Cheers.